What's poppin', family? You know who it is, King B the Great, coming at you with another video on They Stole the Land Part 2. What? Yep, Part 2, They Stole the Land. First of all, I want to send the deepest insight to the elder 65 and older that's in here today. I appreciate you. To all my peers, those in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, I appreciate you as well. To all my youth, 21 and under, star seeds, rainbow babies, crystal babies, and these now babies that just now getting here, blue crystal babies, just want to send deep insight to you as well. If you're just coming in the room, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Hit that like, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Let the algorithm know I'm here, baby. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button for me. Hit that like button. I'm sending peace to all my human beings that's vibrating high enough to see past my flesh, to see past my pigmentation, because I know that's hard for you to do. You've been fed the same spoon of hate we've been fed. They want us to have a race war. They want us to kill each other. They want us, but no gods own anything anymore, even though we do by birthright. What? If you feel me, hit the blunt 3 times. Thank you. This is about to be one of those, so if you smoke, go ahead and roll up. And if you drink, go ahead and take you a shot, because it's about to be one of those. So go ahead and do that. But it was taken from us. So nobody with melanin in their skin, which is human beings, because you have melanin in your skin, not neuromelanin. You have a melanin in your skin. This is why when you go in the sun, you catch melanomas. You get too much UV radiation. All right? That's okay. That's okay. You are inorganic beings to this planet. And that's not nothing to beat yourself up over. That just means you're not from here. So you can't take the atmosphere. And your government didn't want to tell you the truth. So King B the Great is here to tell you the truth. I am not your enemy unless you want me to be your enemy. My species is not your enemy unless you want us to be your enemy. And we can be that because we have more than enough reason to believe that anyway. What? If you feel me, hit the blunt 3 times. Thank you. But moving on with the right energy, your enemy is your own very own human being species that sit up in councils that call themselves the Bilderberg Group, the Boule, and the Committee of 300, and the Black Mobility, and the Knights Templars, and the KKK, and all these other names they like to hide behind. The United Nations. They can doctor up all the fancy names they want to, but never forget how they treated you, human beings. Never forget how they treated you, human beings, when this Hot Sauce 19 came in. What? Nobody with carbon took your jobs away from you. Your very own took your own jobs from you. We didn't take no jobs from you. We are not your enemy. They are your enemy. Remember, human beings, nobody with carbon in their skin took your jobs. It was your very own. What? If you feel me, hit the blunt 3 times. Thank you. So first, let's get a visual representation where we are and where we are on the planet that's been hijacked by invaders, inorganic beings, Pleiadians, 7-foot tall aliens, if you want to call them that, who was working in cahoots with the reptilian race. A treaty was formed when the human beings were stuck on planet Egypt, where your elites of today, they formed a covenant with the reptilian race, the Alpha Draconians to be exact. The Alpha Draconians made a covenant with the human beings and the Pleiadians. Your Pleiadians look like your average human beings you normally see. Only difference is that they get no shorter than 6 feet, between 6 feet and 8 feet, perfect skin complexions, for they have mastered the melanin. They have mastered how to communicate with our sun. even though they didn't come from it. And that's why they was able to live amongst you human beings and gods for a long time. Because the Pleiadians are an advanced extraterrestrial race. Keyword, advanced extraterrestrial race. So when Satan created them, he created them in the image of the gods. He gave them arm, leg, head. Allah, as the Muslims call it. Arm, leg, head. Allah, Venturian man, or should I say Venturian God. What? If you feel me, hit the blank 3 times. Thank you. The dark matter energy is rising. All is being revealed. Before we rise, we have to have full intel on our planet and who and what we are. The dark matter energy is rising. All is being revealed. Before we rise, we have to have full. The dark matter energy is rising. All is being revealed. Before we rise, we have to have full intel of our planet and who and what we are and how everything works. So a lot of these cities and towns was built over slave grave sites. What? New York, Chicago, LA, Dayton, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, Miami, the Carolinas. I don't care what state you name. I don't care what country you name. We were there and they slaughtered us at war, and then they made their cities and towns over top of us. I don't think y'all understand. I don't think y'all feel me what I'm trying to say. What? Let that soak in before I move forward. Let that soak in before I move forward. Let that soak in your soul before we move forward. Let that soak in your soul before we move forward. All your major cities, states, towns, municipalities were built. It's bad enough that they killed us. Hold on. Did you know they built over the dead bodies literally? What? All the parking lots, all the buildings, even the house or apartment you stay in right now, there isn't a place you can go. They literally took us and threw us in one location. Like after they defeated us, our souls kept going. Our spirits came back. But far as our physical bodies, after they killed us, they made these huge grave sites and they would dump all of our bodies right there, and that they might be the size of Charlotte, North Carolina. So what they would do, turn around and make Charlotte, North Carolina over that grave site. What? They have done this with every city. That's what makes it a city. That's what makes it a town. They have done this with every city. That's what makes it a city. That's what makes it a town. Because they are still trying to harness the energy of your ancestors. What? Yeah, it's getting real spooky. Yeah, it's getting real deep. You have to understand why their magic was working. You must understand why you fear them. They reverse the energy of your ancestors who feared them at the moment they died. But not all your ancestors was afraid. But not all your ancestors died scared. But this is why we must rise. This is why we must rise. This is Endgame. They didn't even tell us. They knew how we was gonna react to it. Cause you don't have a clue. It's so much shit they didn't tell us that we don't know. How would you feel if you knew every Walmart was built over dead bodies? What? If you feel me, hit the blunt 3 times. Thank you. If you knew every house, every apartment complex, every city, every state, your modern cities and towns and states, remember the planet is way bigger than what they're telling you. So these so-called cities and states and towns was the slave grave sites of our ancestors, and they built their cities over top of them for a sacrifice ritual to harvest your energy. Yes, the planet is a corpse. It's one big graveyard. You are walking over your ancestors. So I'm gonna pull up a couple of stories. You may have heard about these stories and you may not have heard about these stories. But I'm gonna run through a couple of cities. I'm not gonna run through all the cities, but I'm gonna run through a couple. Just to let you know this shit is real. Let's start with Lake Lanier in Georgia. This video is not my video. This video belongs to Intrigued Minds. Like I said again, this is not my video, but it belongs to Intrigued Minds. I don't know him, but I'm just using it because it goes along with my lecture. Fair use, fair use. Now family, I want y'all to pay attention to this video. Pay close attention. Bam!
1912, the white population drove the black population out of Oscarville with threats and violence. This event was triggered by crimes against two white women, allegedly at the hands of black men. Homes and churches were destroyed, and an estimated 1,100 people were displaced. This was not the first time that Oscarville had been the site of racial violence. In the 1830s, the white population forcibly removed Cherokee farmers from their properties and forced the Cherokees away from Oscarville forever. Welcome to Intrigued Mind, where today we explore Oscarville, the city drowned by Lake Lanier. Lake Lanier is the site of multiple mysterious deaths and disappearances that have plagued this man-made lake for as long as it has been in existence. Many people believe that the lake is haunted because it was constructed on top of a town. That town was called Oscarville. Located in Forsyth County, it still exists today, but it is submerged beneath as much as 152 feet of water, though the remnants of Oscarville were revealed during droughts between 2000 and 2009. So, what happened to the residents of that town? Who were they, and why did they leave? And what other mysteries does this submerged city's tragic past lay claim to? Keep watching to learn all about the secrets of Oscarville, the town that was flooded by Lake Lanier. Oscarville was a town in Forsyth County, which lies in the northern part of the state of Georgia. Today, this county is characterized by a predominantly white population. Yet, this was not always the case. In 1912, each and every black resident was forcibly relocated. An estimated 1,100 people, comprising 10% of Oscarville's population, were removed from their homes and sent into exile. But what events precipitated this racial cleansing? In September of that year, before the white people drove out their black neighbors, a young woman was found in the nearby woods. She was beaten, bloodied, and unconscious. The woman was 18-year-old Sleety Mae Crow. The girl later died of her injuries, 1 week shy of her 19th birthday. It was believed that she had been struck from behind and dragged into the woods while walking home from her aunt's house. Her assailant raped her before striking her in the head with a rock at least 3 times, crushing her skull. A black man named Rob Edwards, whose only crime was to be in the area at the time of the attack, was quickly seized. Edwards was unlawfully hung in the town square, with many of the white community present. His body was strung up on a telephone pole, and white onlookers fired bullets into his lifeless body. 2 more people would be executed for this still unsolved murder: 16-year-old Edward Knox, whom the girl allegedly accused on her deathbed, and a 17-year-old Oscar Daniel. The 2 boys were put on trial, found guilty, and handed down a sentence of death by hanging. Earlier that same week, another white woman was allegedly assaulted by 2 black men. Ellen Greesh, the wife of a well-respected farmer, accused 2 black men, Tony Howell and Isaiah Perkle, of attempting to rape her, before they were startled and scared away by her mother. These men were imprisoned, awaiting trial. A black preacher by the name of Grant Allen was alleged to have speculated at a community barbecue that Greesh may have given consent to sexual relations with Howell and Perkle. Word of this speculation reached the ears of the white members of the community, who were enraged at the suggestion. An angry mob captured Grant Allen and horsewhipped him until he was nearly dead. The local sheriff managed to intervene just in time to drag the preacher to the safety of the courthouse. Regardless of whether these black men were guilty of the crimes they were accused of or not, it acted as a flame to a powder keg. The night of Sleety Mae Crow's funeral, enraged white men gathered at the town's crossroads, armed with guns and sticks of dynamite. They descended on the black population with fury, spurred on by sensational news reports and the support of Crow's parents, who went on record to say that they wished to be rid of the town's black people, whom they referred to as the fiends of hell. In the coming months, these white vigilantes, known collectively as the Night Riders, drove the black community out of town. It is estimated that in the early months of the racial cleansing, that 98% of Oscarville's black community fled in fear, never to return. Many of the cabins of Oscarville's black population were scattered along the banks of the Chattahoochee River on the outskirts of town. The Night Riders would go to each and every white home to call up the adult men of the family to join the group. It is worth remembering that it had only been 50 years earlier that a white man was legally allowed to pursue escaped slaves in the days before the Civil War and the Emancipation Proclamation. Therefore, when the knock on the door came after sundown to join the Night Riders posse, it may not have seemed a foreign concept to these men at all. It took a few months for these so-called Night Riders to drive the black people out of Oscarville and from nearby towns such as Cumming. Those members of the black community who served in the wealthy houses of the upper-class white families in the neighboring town of Cumming were afforded some protection, but the poor sharecroppers, landowners, and cotton pickers who were the most vulnerable were the first to flee the town. The Night Riders' main modus operandi was to throw stones through windows, to fire gunshots through front doors, and to shout out, "Get!" to the terrified inhabitants within. Furniture was burned, pets and livestock were shot, and messages were left behind, giving inhabitants 24 hours to leave. One white woman, Ruth Jordan, who was just a girl at the time of the racial cleansing, recounted one night when she accompanied her father, who was friendly with his black neighbors, to check on their safety. They found their neighbor's cabin empty, the furniture shot to pieces. When her father called out, their neighbors, the Cooks, emerged from the woods, where they had spent the night, hiding in terror. By mid-October, it was reported in the news that many black homes had been torched and razed to the ground, along with 5 churches where black people worshipped. The exiled literally had no place to return to. By burning their churches, the Night Riders struck at the very heart of the spiritual and social fabric of Oscarville's black community. By late October, violent means were no longer necessary. All it took was for the Night Riders to leave a tied-up bundle of sticks on a cabin's front porch in the morning, and the family who dwelt there would be gone by sundown. Such was the depth of their terror. The white farmers who remained in Oscarville went on to prosper after the racial cleansing of 1912. In fact, they were so successful that Oscarville was one of the few farming communities to survive both the Great Depression and the boll weevil attacks on cotton that had plagued the area since 1915. However, the fact that Oscarville primarily comprised farming land made it a target for developers who wanted to create a water supply for the fast-growing Atlanta metro. All but 5 residents were asked to sell their land to the government for this project. In 1947, a deal was struck between the Chamber of Commerce and the Industrial Bureau for the construction of the Beaufort Dam, which took 4 years to complete, and by 1959, Lake Lanier was filled for the first time. By this time, the farming town that was Oscarville had completely disappeared, only living on via a handful of old maps, archived newspaper articles, and local oral history. About 1,100 people lost their livelihoods and their homes during the 1912 racial cleansing of Oscarville. A few families sold their properties for dirt cheap. The majority just left. No longer able to make a living off the land they were forced to abandon, they were unable to pay their taxes. This meant that their property was seized by the government. The white farmers who remained often simply took possession of them. All this made it much simpler to legally flood the land that was many people's ancestral home. Perhaps the saddest part of this dark chapter in America's history is that this was not the first time that people had been displaced from the land where Oscarville sat. In Forsyth County, during the 1830s, Cherokee farmers, who had no legal rights, had their holdings taken away from them in a so-called land lottery, in which white settlers were granted a stamped document which gave them the right to drive the Cherokee farmers out of their homes and away from their land, and they had no legal redress. Quite often, these farmers were driven out at gunpoint. This was simply a government-sanctioned land grab, and just like the Cook family, who hid from their white attackers in the nearby woods, so too did many of the Cherokee farmers, who would rather hide in the forest and starve than be driven out. Eventually, in the face of such adversity, a small faction of the Cherokee ceded the entire Cherokee territory to the United States. The Cherokee were then rounded up and pinned like animals, before being packed into wagons and forced to walk out of Georgia forever, bound for a reservation in Oklahoma. There is a well-known and indelible truth which historians attribute to the Spanish philosopher George Santayana, that those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. It would seem that this was the case with the peoples of Oscarville. Perhaps this town is better off, buried beneath the deep waters of Lake Lanier. For more videos on the most...
Did y'all Did y'all hear what he said? That ain't the first time we was displaced. Who is the Cherokee? Us. So if your eyes are woke to there are no Indians, we are the Indians. We are the descendants of these tribes. What? Let's not just jump past this. Okay, a white woman is walking. Same story like Black Wall Street. Same story like Rosewood, Florida. They used the same shit. They used a woman, not necessarily a white woman, but a woman in general to come after that ass. That's my point. This nigga Rob Edwards didn't do shit but be in the area where it took place. But they needed a reason to attack Oscarsville. They hung him and shot him, his lifeless body. Now, what? Keep in mind, remember, people in Oscarville didn't like them because they was too successful. Even though they pushed them to the point where they took all their land from them, and they still didn't like them, that they were still called the Friends of Hell. Now, there was two excuses to attack them. Who else like to use those tactics? The KKK, the police of the day. They like to come deep, come with their guns drawn, trying to scare you, take you to jail, and hang you, kill you slow. That's all I see. What? They stole the land. But I don't think we understand these are the same damn tactics they've been using since day one. What? If you feel me, hit the blunt 3 times. Thank you. Let's not forget, they were shooting through the doors, throwing rocks through their windows. Hell yeah, kids got shot. Facts, boy. To all of my Christians out there, they didn't give a fuck. They would come in your church and burn you in front of your kids. That's why we ain't about to show no mercy right now, nigga. I know who I am, and I know this is our land. And I know why y'all coming at our people. I know why y'all pull carbonated people over to shoot y'all, to arrest y'all, to fuck with y'all. I know why they drug the food, fluoride the water, cause we the history, nigga. You ain't gotta go back that far. You ain't gotta know none of this cosmic shit I'm telling you. You can go basic. History. They said they burned 5 churches. Why? Cause they said it would strike at the spiritual source of the community. That right there alone let you know Jesus ain't real, nigga. That right there let you know what church really about. To make your ass passive. Before that, we was fucking up shit around this bitch. Then they came with this church shit. Worship your slave masters. It's okay, cause you can suffer just like Jesus did. And he died for your sins, so you should suffer like he did, and you'll get your heaven when you leave. Nigga, fuck heaven after we leave. We want heaven right now, nigga. The fuck we gotta leave before we get peace round here. If you feel me, hit the blunt 3 times. Thank you. I don't care what color you are behind that badge. You're the ops, nigga. Cause I know what that badge really means. I know who the laws was made for. Me and my motherfucking people. But niggas walking around like they free. Now, imagine that. We was going to church and everything. And y'all wasn't safe in the church. And you wonder why Hurricane Harvey hit Joel Osteen. This the thing that gets me. Y'all try to talk about the conscious community when anybody in the conscious community get any kind of dollars. But you ain't said nothing to Joel Osteen. Cause the last time I checked, ain't nobody made more dollars off black people more than Joel Osteen and Jesus. And when Joel Osteen made billions off our black people, when Hurricane Harvey hit, he wouldn't even open the damn doors. See, I don't forget. I take it personal. We moving on, family. We moving on, family. On to the next one. Real quick, man. Real quick. Check this story out. I'm going to click on it. Radar finds more than 120 graves under Tampa apartments. Bam!
Oh, I say prayers all the time. I'm asking God that whatever it is, that He would reveal it. And He's revealing it.
We found that indeed Zion is still active. It's an active cemetery. It's not just in the areas that we've scanned, but we believe that is the case under the actual buildings itself.
As you can see from the results on this map, GPR testing returned the reflections of buried rectangular objects that are the same size and shape as coffins within the boundary of what was the former Zion Cemetery as marked historically. In all, we have approximately 126 total. And this is just in the portion that we surveyed, based on maps as they were made and plans of the cemetery in 1901.
These people are still there.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Nice. Oh.
It didn't happen by accident. They didn't care about us, and that's bottom line. And the fact that it was an African-American cemetery, which is why it got buried and it got hidden deliberately.
And I don't think no one in their right mind would want to continue to live on top of those people.
There's actually somebody right here on this side. Now, God, as we go moving forward on this day, that you send peace and you love to each and every family who's here on this day. This I ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Wow, Lord, have mercy. Woo. Thank you, Jesus.
When I say we everywhere. And they still like saucing it. And they still like saucing it. Come on, I did this video for a reason. This video should get your soul ready for this end game. Boy, we went to war with their ass. A lot of us lost our avatars. Man, our ancestors died fighting their ass. That's why they hid the grave sites. You get it now? So that's why, so you won't fight against them ever again. That should touch y'all soul. I'm gonna let that marinate on y'all soul for a second. Come on now. You should be sitting back right now saying to yourself, I mean, I knew we were slaves, but you telling me even our apartments now, me too, my apartments, believe me, it was trillions of us. This is our land. Next slide, next exhibit. I want to give a shout out to Africa Diaspora News Channel.
So a Staten Island parking lot is drawing attention for being the final resting place for what is estimated to be up to 1,000 former slaves. Now, they say at first glance, they say the New York Borough parking lot looked like something that was normal. They had a Metro PCS store, a 7-Eleven. They say they had other businesses sitting on the corner of Forest and Livermore Avenue. They say, but as is the case, it said the more interesting story of the plot of the land lies a few feet beneath the surface. So according to historians, it said there's a lot. There's the location of the only black burial ground on the Long Island North Shore. They say it goes back to the 1850s in the earlier 20th century, and it's a final resting place for generations of black people, a fact that has been hidden. They say, but one of the locals are still surprised to learn. Now, this is the thing. There have been places that we have been buried, and these people know this. These people know all the way around. They don't care. They will build parking structures. They will build neighborhoods. They'll build artificial lakes like Lake Lanier. And anybody know about Lake Lanier and all things that happen at Lake Lanier? A lot of people say Lake Lanier is cursed. And rightfully, it should be cursed because those white folks had went over there and done the evil that they normally would do to black people. And then they end up putting a lake over that area.
I would like to give a shout out to Kenya, my little sister, for giving me the inspiration to do this video. We was talking about this for a while. And I also want to give a shout out to Divine Insight, one of my teachers. You need to go subscribe to him, www.theuci.online. Y'all be safe, be signing out. Now we rise.